In this webucation, we'll be taking a look at some of the enhancements to the method definition utility in version 9 and how they can simplify your XF Server Plus and XF Netlink development efforts. Since the introduction of version 9, we've added support for additional return types and parameters in the MDU. These include the system string data type, array lists, data tables, and the ability to coerce native Synergy data types into .NET data types on the client side. Let's launch the MDU now and see what this means for different methods we've made available to XF Server Plus. We'll pick a method. Let's try the logon method and modify it. At first glance, everything pretty much appears as it has in previous versions. We see the method name, interface name, and method ID, and so on. In the return type drop-down, however, we see something new. Down at the bottom, we can now select system string. This comes in handy if we want to return a string of variable length to our calling application, whether it be an error message, an entire XML document, or some other text that's meaningful to the function. If we select system string, notice that the length field is now disabled. That's because the string is an object, and the MDU knows it can have any length. Selecting string has also disabled one of our new fields, the coerced type. Let's select something else, an integer, say, and take a closer look at coercion. The coerced type is simply how we want our return value to look on the client side. For instance, in this routine, a value of anything but 0 indicates a failure. Since we only care if it succeeded or failed and not why it failed, then really we're talking about a Boolean return type. It's either true or false, success or failure. Setting coerced types is helpful to your .NET developers, since it's a further clue to them as to what they are expecting from any given function. When they receive the assembly, they'll be able to tell that the return value of a login call is going to be either true or false. As you can see, there are a lot of options for coercion types. If we change our return type to decimal, we'll see even more, namely the datetime and nullable datetime types. This means you can actually return a date to your client application rather than a D8 that must be parsed to find the day, month, and year. It might be easier to see some of the value of the datetime coercion as well as some of the other data types by taking a look at the new parameter enhancement for routines. Let's open up the parameters for the login method and see what we have. Here we have the first parameter, which appears to be a user record structure. The second parameter is also a structure. Instead of modifying either of these, let's add a new parameter to our login method, which returns a collection of records. We'll name the parameter trtrackers and enter the description as open issues. This way, the client will automatically receive a list of all open issues for the user when they log in. In this case, our data type will be a structure, but you can see that the new system string is also an option. Once the structure has been selected, the length is automatically populated and disabled, as is the coerced type. Down here in the collection type area, we see some more changes to the MDU in version 9. Array is still an option, and collection has been renamed as structure collection. But we also see the new array list collection type and a checkbox for data table. Now, from a coding standpoint, array lists are a whole lot easier to work with than memory handles. On the client side, however, the difference between a structure collection, or memory handle, and an array list is virtually non-existent. But if we select array list, we now see that the data table checkbox has been enabled. Exposing a parameter as a data table to your .NET client opens up a wealth of embedded functionality to your developers and doesn't require a single change to your source code. These data tables extend the .NET Framework's data table type and, as such, should be very familiar to your client-side developers. This is an extremely powerful technique, especially when the information you return to the client is going to be used in some sort of grid display. Let's take a look at another example. We'll add a new parameter, this one called last login. As part of our method, we're going to return the last date that the user logged in. As mentioned, coercion also has been added to parameters. So, if we select decimal as our data type and set the length to 8, we can return the required month, day, and year. Unfortunately, in past versions, the client would simply see this as a very large number and not as a date. As of version 913, we can now coerce our D8 into an actual date time or nullable date time, eliminating the need to have the parameter parsed by the client. We can even choose the date-time format. As you can see, the changes to the MDU in version 9 have come a long way in helping your .NET developers quickly analyze and use the data being passed both in and out of XF Server Plus methods. That concludes this Webucation. Thank you for watching. For more information, be sure to log on to the Synergy DE Resource Center. You'll find great examples on the Code Exchange and other excellent training and demonstration videos.